Okay, welcome to my channel. Today we're going to know the word of intentional teaching. What does it mean to be an intentional teacher? How can you make a last longer impact in your student's life? Let's dive into the word of being an intentional teacher and see what we have in stock. Okay, becoming an intentional teacher. My name is Uchama Ifoma. I'm going to be your presenter for today. The first point I'm going to talk about today is, if you look at your slide, you'll see what I have there. We have reflective practice. Now, under reflective practice, we have self assessment. You, as an educator, you, as a teacher, you need to evaluate your strengths, know your strengths and your weaknesses, identify areas for growth where you're supposed to improve. Most educators don't improve on themselves. They don't assess themselves. They don't even know their weaknesses. Take, for instance, if you're a teacher and you find it so difficult to communicate, you don't have an effective communication, you don't need anybody to tell you to go and improve on your communication skills. Once you assess yourself and see that your communication skill is very poor, you move straight ahead and enroll yourself, improve on yourself. Self improvement, personal growth is very, very important. You work on yourself. Once you have it, you have it. It's your intellectual property. We talk about weaknesses. We're also talking about strengths. You look at your strengths, know where you're good at. Don't be a jack of all trades, master of none. So you have to know where you are good at and how to deliver whatever you're good at. That's it for self-assessment. Now we look at student feedback. I want you to be looking at your slide. We have student feedback. You gather input from students, understand their perspective, how to go about it, and what to do. Now, you always look out for their feedback, wait for them to give you feedback, let them judge or give you feedback on how you've done. Now, you can have that feedback from the assessment you're giving to them, from the test you give them, or the quick test or whatever given to them in class after teaching. There and there, you can be able to assess if you've been able to penetrate the students, your students, or if you've been able to meet their needs, if you've been able to get to their needs. If you there, you'll be able to know when you've really passed a message from your students' feedback. The next one here we have is the peer observation. Peer observation. Observe your teachers, get to know ideas, get to have get in ideas and insights from there. Don't just be a man alone. Don't isolate yourself from others. Try to work. Collaboration is a key word here. You try to mix up with other colleagues of yours and find out how things are being done. The more you collaborate with other teachers or colleagues where you're working, you'll be able to get a better insight of what you're doing. They will relate to you, they will inform you when you're not getting it right. You will reach out to people or your colleagues or teachers out there, they will be able to help you. Don't just do it alone and end up giving rubbish to your students. Okay, let's move to the next slide. Look at your slide now. Well, we have certain clear objectives. As a teacher, or as an educator, or you wanting to be an intentional teacher, at the beginning of the term or the semester, you have to draw your board, like have on your drawing board, these are my set objectives. We have what we call the long term objective and the short term objective. What do you intend to achieve within the specific time? This specific time, this is what I intend achieving. Now you have to set a clear objective, a clear goal for yourself. You have to make use of this acronym SMART. It should be something that you can achieve. Now the S there is specific, the M there is your objective should be measurable. The A there, it should be achievable. The R, it should be relevant to what you're doing. And the T, the time bounded. Now, if you look at the slide before you, you'll see the setting a clear objective. You have to define your goal. What is your goal for the term? What do you intend to achieve when from this period of time to this so and so time? What do you intend achieving? Yes, what do you think you can achieve? You have to define it and you have to work towards it. Then you share it with your students. Remember, it's a teamwork. Teaching profession is a teamwork. You have to work with your colleague and also work with your students, the learners under your custody. Now you share with your students, you share your ideas, you communicate your objective openly to them. This is what we intend achieving within this first 2 weeks of resumption, or first 4 weeks of resumption. We intend to achieve so and so, and everybody's hands will be on deck. You see, you start working with your students. It's not something you just do on your own and you decide on your own and leave it to. If you are to decide in your own and not carrying your students along, you will not really achieve what you want. But it is better you bring in your students or your learners to be on the same page with you, so they will work hand in hand with you. Now, the next one we'll have there is align your activities. You have to match the activities to your goal. You don't just bring in something and intercept it. You have to match it from first week. This is what achieving this at first week. This the next one comes in the second week, the third week, the fourth week. It should be sequential. It shouldn't be you just whatever that comes up your head, you start doing it, not having a timetable, not having a planner on how to carry it out. No, it should be sequential. And having your objectives sequential, matching the activity, shows that you as an intentional teacher is organized. Okay, we keep going. The next slide before you is creating an engaging lesson. Some teachers, most times, if you enter their classroom, you notice that most times when they are teaching, they are just there, not carrying their learners along. And at some point, you see their learners being bored. Like some will start sleeping, yawning, feeling so tired, losing interest, and all that. I wouldn't know if you, as an educator or as a teacher, has witnessed it. If you want to become an intentional teaching, you should be intentional about how you pass your lessons, or how engaging your lessons is or will be in the class. You should, from the time when you're planning your lesson plan, you look at it. What activity do I have to give to those children? You should have an active learning based activity, and the real world, you connect it to the real world. Sometimes you see teachers teaching, what they are teaching will be sounding abstract. They will fail to connect it to the real world. They will fail to let the children know that whenever they come across so and so out there, this is how to tackle it. I once had a teacher that was teaching about 6 classes of food. Now, 6 classes of food, the teacher failed to relate it to the students and make it like bringing it to life, real life. What she did was the 6 classes of food. We have carbohydrate, we have water, we have vitamins, we have mineral resources, protein, fats, and oil, and all that. Recite it, repeat it, like keep repeating. Now she failed to understand that after mentioning all that, not that it's not necessary or it's wrong by mentioning it, she is supposed to mention it. But the point I want to make here is, after mentioning such things, you need to bring it to life. You can actually do brainstorm those children by, like, you getting home as a student, you got home and noticed that mommy made a pot of okra soup and gari. Can you please split it? We have okra, we have crayfish, we have meat, we have water, we have oil, we have vegetables. Can you please place it on that? That is an active learning, and at the same time bringing it to the real, like connecting it to real world. That's exactly what I'm trying to say. You should not always make your teaching abstract. You should try and connect it to real world. And once you know how to connect your teaching to real world, I bet you students that will pass through you will be problem solvers. They will know how, whenever they encounter any problem, they will know how to connect it to whatever that was taught in the classroom. I once have a student, those days, though he has passed out, the teacher in the class was teaching, because I'm an ambassador of bringing teaching to real uh world, like connecting it to real world. This boy, the teacher was teaching about firefighters in the class under HPE, and said that the fire service number is this. She casually said it, not knowing that she has made an impact. Lo and behold, months later, where this boy was living around their community, there's this fire outbreak from a petrol station. Remembering what the teacher taught in the class, this boy dialed the fire service number. He rang, and before you knew what was happening, the fire fighters came to rescue. They came to salvage the whole situation, and the entire community celebrated this boy. How come you did it? He was like, no, it was from the class. My teacher taught me that if anything like fire, if you experience any fire breakout, this is the number to fire service. Assuming she did not connect it to life, that's exactly what I'm trying to say here. Assuming she did not connect that lesson to real world, that boy might not be able to know what he or she is supposed to do. So that's why I said that teachers who have students, or who teaches who always teach by connecting to, making a connection to real world, their learners are always problem solvers. Okay, let's keep going. We'll move over to the next slide. Now, look at your slide here. We have differentiated instructions. Yes. Now, what we mean by differentiated instructions, as you're teaching, you could be flexible. You can also know how to test your students and all that, to know if what you're doing is actually making an impact. Now we look at their assessment. You can test them using assessment. You can do a quick test. You can also assessment by, you can give them a home task, take home tasks to go and do. You can decide to group them into different smaller groups in class. You can decide to give them research work. If you look at the picture before you, you will see that the teacher there is having a kind of group work. And yes, once you group them into smaller groups, you see the intelligent ones picking up immediately, carrying out the task, thereby carrying these other ones along. Now, if you give an assessment or a take-home task, the children goes back to work on it to continue from where they stopped in class. It also helps. So as intention, if you want to be if you want to become an intentional teacher, it is very, very important that you make use of these instructions. Okay, let's keep going. If you look at that slide, you will see we have varied materials, resources that you can use. Always vary or accommodate different learning styles. Yes, I know that in our next video we'll look at different learners and their learning styles. If you know, as an intentional teacher, you're supposed to know different learning styles, how to go about it, how to break each child's circle. Okay, we keep going. We look at effective classroom management. Some teachers, as they are teaching, they don't care what goes around the environment, how, if the children are actually assimilating what they are teaching or not. Now, your classroom management should be very, very effective. You should be jealous of your classroom management. You should create or establish a clear expectation. You build a positive relationship and create a respective learning environment. Now, every class is supposed to have a clear rule. Yes, this is what will fly in my class. These are the do's and don'ts in my class. This is how to communicate, communication expectations. You need to, these are my expectations. This is what I want. This is it. And everybody, while making that rule, everybody should be carried along, should be part of the rules in the class. Now, when we talk about relationship, you should be able to build trust and rapport relationship, a very good and solid one in the class, for them to be able to trust you, to feel free, trust one another, and also feel free to express themselves. There's what we call positive reinforcement. positive reinforcement. Each child, remember that these learners are very unique in their own way. So you try as much as possible to acknowledge each child and reward every little good work or any little effort each child has made. It's very, very important. That is, if you really want to become an intentional teacher. Let's Next slide is continuous professional development. You must have to develop yourself. You must have to stay current with research and best practices. You must have to attend workshops, conferences. You must have to collaborate with your colleagues. Workshop is very, very important in every educator. That's a trendy educator. If you want to stay relevant in your working space, you must attend workshops. For you to attending training sections to learn, you must have to learn new strategies. It is very, very important. Not just workshops, you should have to attend conferences, build your network with educators, find friends who are into that same profession so that you'll be able to share ideas and insights. Get mentors who are in that profession for them to be able to scaffold you through. Now, the next one here is collaboration. You have to work with peers. You have to develop innovative approaches. You don't hold tight to analog way of teaching. You have to make use of tech while teaching, because whether we like it or not, the system is advancing and we have to move with the trend. That's about CPD, continuous professional development. It is a must that if you want to stay relevant on this profession. Now, the next slide before us is the key take home. Before I end this session, I want you to have those keywords at the back of your mind that you will take home. If you really want to be intentional in this profession, if you want to go far, if you want to make a name in this profession, number one, you have to reflect. Always reflect on what you're doing. Intentional teaching is a journey. You must have to reflect. You must have to plan. You must have to engage, and you must have to adapt to changes, adapt to new trends and all that. You must have to adapt. That your commitment is what will make the difference. So with this, we've come to the end of today's session, and I look forward for you to drop your comments or contributions at the comment section. Feel free to ask your questions if you think you're not clear. I will come up online and clear the air. Thank you, and do have a great day.